Hello, good afternoon. We are now handling chapter 5 of the textbook in GSS 211. We are going to be handling preamble, definition of terms, historical perspective of internet protocols and services. Computer networks. Computer network is a collection of computers and devices connected together by means of communication channels and transmission media to share resources. We need to start with the computer networks so that we can flow and understand what internet is. So, which are the components of the computer network? We have the server, you have the workstation or client, you have the links or connection, and resources to be shared. And if you look at this diagram, the one in the middle is the server. The server is the one that carries all resources and authorizes the share of resources to each of the clients or workstations that are connected. So, what are resources to be shared? The hardware, printer, computer, and whatever type of hardware. Then the software, programs. Programs can be shared amongst all the workstations that are connected to the server. We have the data. We know what data means. Data that are contained in any of the systems can be shared in the network by being authorized by the server. Then we have the bandwidth. The bandwidth is the amount of data that is allowed to pass through a communication channel at a time. But at this stage, the bandwidth is not of concern because it's a bit advanced for now. The internet. The internet is a global interconnection of computer networks. The internet, therefore, is a single network that links every access point in the globe. It is a global network of networks. That is, all networks within the globe are connected. Within the globe are connected together to form one big holistic network, which now functions as one. So that is called the internet. And the internet, what you have to understand is that the internet is the collection of the entire computer hardware that are connected together to form this holistic network. The word internet comes from combination of interconnection and network. The World Wide Web. The World Wide Web is the network of electronic web pages that runs on the internet. Most people confuse the World Wide Web to the internet, but actually they are not the same, although they are closely related, because the World Wide Web runs on the internet as software, while the internet is the hardware. Operating the World Wide Web does not depend on geographical location. What do we mean? You see, the World Wide Web contains web pages linked within and without each web server. You know, as the internet is, there's a server also. Each of the computers that carry big resources to be shared within the internet are called web servers. And those web servers are situated in different positions in the globe. You see, why I say that the World Wide Web doesn't pay attention to geographical location is because the web pages are linked within the servers, and you can in 1 second be in Europe, and in the other second you can be in US, the other second you can be in Nigeria, just by browsing or surfing through these web pages that are contained in the servers. So that these combination of web pages holistically forms what we call the cyberspace. So the cyberspace now is like, it doesn't relate to any geographical location, although it can be tied to, if need be. But, in the cyberspace, you can be anywhere you want to be and any time you want to be. So it's not really tied. You don't have to trek or go to anywhere. You can sit in one place in the world and be in everywhere in the world. That's the beauty of it. So the World Wide Web is a software, while the internet is the hardware. We have the intranet, extranet, and the internet. The intranet is a private closed network of an organization which is protected by authentication and certain security protocols. The intranet is closed in the sense that no one penetrates it unless it's authorized. And within the intranet, there are web pages that exist within the intranet. That is, the servers that exist within the intranet provide web browsing just like the internet. So that is why in the intranet, we call intranet the internet with small I, because it's an internet is a web, a small web within a closed network. It's not in a public space. Then we have the extranet. The extranet is another private network which the intranet depends on to draw data or information from time to time. It is a closed network that can be linked to the intranet so that the intranet can now pull resources from it from time to time as need be, and also is not exposed to public space. Then you have the internet. The internet, which is contains everything, is a public network, and of course, in the internet there's a lot of security issues, and it's no man's land. Anything can happen within the internet. That is why organizations try to own their own closed and private network for security reasons. History of internet. Paul Barron proposed a distributed network based on data in message blocks in the early 60s. And Donald Davis brought the idea of packet switching in 1965 at the National Physical Lab in the United Kingdom. He proposed also building a national commercial data network in the UK. The Advanced Research Project Agency, APA, of the US Department of Defense awarded contracts in 1969 for the development of ARPANET projects. ARPANET is a network in APA, directed by Robert Taylor and managed by Lawrence Roberts. ARPANET adopted packet switching technology proposed by Davis and Barron, powered with mathematical work developed by Leonard Kleinrock at the UCLA, that's University of California, Los Angeles, by the early 70s. The network was built by BBN Technologies, BBN, which made up Barrick, Bolt, and Newman. That's what makes BBN Technologies. And also the people that worked in BBN, like Joseph Carl Roberts Licklider, was the first that brought the idea of universal network under BBN Technologies. And Tomlinson, the email format. Robert Bob Kahn and Vinchev invented the TCP protocols at the BBN Technologies used to power the universal network. Both of them, both Robert Kahn and Vinchev, the fathers of internet.
Oh, this man don't go. How do I?
Please mute your mic. Mute your mic, please. Types of connection. We have the dial-up connection. The dial-up connection is a technology which makes use of analog signals provided by the normal analog telephone lines to transmit data. If you look at this setup now, we have the telephone line, we have a computer system in this way at the subscriber side, and you have the computer system also at the ISP, that's Internet Service Provider side. Then what happens is that the digital signal provided, generated from the computer at the subscriber side, now converts by the modem to the analog signal and is then transmitted through telephone line to the destination using normal telephone switch networks. And when it gets to the destination, that signal now is converted from analog back to digital and fed to the computer. Then the communication can be served. You know, in this way, actually, it was the technique that was used in the late 90s and early 2000s. It was extremely slow, but at least we went by because it was a way of connecting the world together and the only alternative at that time, although now it's obsolete. Then we have the asymmetric digital subscriber line. The difference between this asymmetric digital subscriber line and the dial-up network is that the asymmetric digital subscriber line has what we call the ADS splitter, which splits the channel into two and dedicate one for voice and one for data. You see, in the dial-up network connection, there was only one line. If the phone rings, of course, it will be engaged if you are on data call. And when you are on a voice call, the data will now be put on hold. And in that way, you know, the actual channel was actually for voice, and the quality of signal was very low at that time. So, but in this digital subscriber line, the dedicated line for data made it made up for the speed and the quality of data, and also you can also talk at the same time while you are communicating with data. Then we have the satellite connection. The satellite connection is a connection via satellite. Now, what is a satellite? A satellite is an electronic equipment that is shot into space to stay in the Earth's orbit so that it rotates at the same frequency, at the same speed with the Earth. And we say that when it goes like that, we say the satellite is geostationary because it appears to be at exactly the same point, pointing to exactly the same place on the Earth's surface at the time, because it rotates with the same speed with the Earth. Now, what happens is that the antenna is raised on the ground on Earth and raised on another point on the Earth's surface. Then the signal can be sent from one point and deflected by the satellite to the other point, and vice versa. It goes send and receive. That's why you see the two arrows, the one going up and the one coming down. Now, the beauty about the satellite communication is that anywhere you see the sky, you can always communicate and you can always get there. So it's is very nice and very fast. But the issue about satellite communication is a bit expensive, but is what it makes up for is the advantage of being available everywhere. Then there is something else, the VSAT. The VSAT is actually a part of satellite communication. It's called Very Small Aperture Terminal. It's a part of satellite communication, and is the set of the antennas and the satellite and the network operating center. All together, all of them form the VSAT communication. You see, this network operating center you are seeing is a kind of control center for the communication, because it means that every communication that is linked via that satellite is operated and controlled at the network operations center. Radio or wireless connection. A radio is an equipment that emits electromagnetic waves that are used for communication. When we say radio, it means radio, although the conventional radio that you know also does the same thing in a small scale. But this one, high-powered equipment that emits serious electromagnetic waves that is able to carry large chunks of data from one point to the other. Now, how does this work? You see, the radio communication receives a point-to-point connection from the ISP to the consumer, such that the ISP that provides the internet now connects to the consumer. For instance, you know, most of the ISP that we have in Nigeria, in Lagos, and how do they get connection all the way to Calabar, for instance? You know, the wireless antenna, of course, you cannot say that you put up one at the ISP and suddenly that one gets Calabar. Please, who is that? Mute your mic, please. So the one that is linked from Lagos will have to be repeated or regenerated at the signal speed. For instance, from Lagos to somewhere at maybe Benin and so on, if the radio is not strong enough to reach there, or if it gets there and the signal starts diminishing, another one is now installed to regenerate the signal and so on. So now at the end of the day, you have something like this wireless tower going through the grid from Calabar to Lagos to ensure that the connection is done. So that is how wireless connection works. Then the internet protocols. When we say protocols, protocol means set of rules or standards that are used to guide us to do particular things. This one is communication because it involves internet. The internet, what makes internet is just communication, because you link to others by connecting to them and linking them. And you know what communication means? Communication means that you can send a message to somebody and the person can acknowledge receipt of that message, and also you know that the person also understands what you are doing. So now we have these 5 protocols, the HTTP or HTTPS, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. We have the TCP/IP Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol, and we have SMP Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. We have the FTP File Transfer Protocol. Now, the HTTP and HTTPS, what happens is that those ones are the ones that actually deals with the domain and talks about how the internet site and takes care of all the rules concerning the internet site and how the hypertext is being arranged, so that you have like a web page, the electronic web page we'll be talking about. Then the TCP/IP. TCP/IP is a protocol that is in charge of communication. It now defines rules by which two systems can talk. Two computers can connect to each other and see each other and be able to relate and communicate. That's the TCP/IP. Then you have the small mail transfer protocol. That one is related to mail, send and receive text, whatever type of mail. Then the FTP is also very important. The file transfer protocol is when you need to transfer large chunks of data to and fro, either send or receive. Is done by file, is defined by file transfer protocol. Then the POP and the IMAP, Post Office Protocol and Internet Message Access Protocol. Those ones are done to define rules of engagement concerning the emails and how the emails are formatted and so on. So those are the protocols you need to know. We don't need to go deep into it because at this level, we just need to know they exist and what they do. Web addresses, URLs. Web addresses are addressing system that identifies where a web resource is located. These web addresses, we call them URL, that's Uniform Resource Locator. Now, you see that the web itself contains a lot of information. Web itself contains a lot of information, and this information are stored on servers, and they are organized into addresses, and so on, and URLs, such that it can be referenced and can be searched, and it can be reached and retrieved very easily. So now this system of address, like we have here, the protocol, the server, the path, and the resource. This is the format of any typical URL. You have first the protocol ://www dot. What attaches to that dot exactly is the hosts and the host extension. Then you have the path and you have the resource. The path is just like a folder or a directory which is contained within the host or the domain. So this, the last one there is actually the resource. Host address extensions. The host address extensions, I will just I've listed some few here. 3-letter string for the type of business concerning the sites, then 2-letter string as extension for the country. So you see, anything.com is commercial, anything.gov is government, anything.edu is education, .org is non-commercial, .net is network, military, and academic. There are so many others also. Then we have the extension for the countries. We have NG, Nigeria, UK, United Kingdom, US, United States, ZA, South Africa, JP, Japan, France, and so on. So these are the conventions to make it easy for the web searches and the storing information. Email service. Electronic mail is a message that is created with a mail program that uses the internet as a means of delivery. And we have a system of addressing of the email. We have the mailbox name at host/domain name. So you will see this like mail to that GSS 211 at Unical. The L is missing there, Unical. So the unica.edu.ng appears to be is the host or the domain name, and this side of is the mailbox name, or normally some people call it the username. Then bulletin board service. A bulletin board service, BBS, is a computer or an application dedicated to the storing or exchange of messages or other files on the network. The BBS became the primary kind of online community through the 1980s and early 1990s, before the World Wide Web arrived. It was like a kind of text-based information system, like showing like a blog or a kind of community. A BBS was accessible from a dial-up modem, telenet, or the internet. The BBS interface was text-based. It originated before the World Wide Web. It was text-based. You know, that time there was nothing like forum, network, discussion forum, social media, and so on. So the BBS was very good at that time to exchange ideas. You log in, key in your own idea, and now the other person logs it, and so on. It was like a small community. But in recent time, the web-based version have a graphical, interactive user interface. So in recent time, but it's not as good as it used to be, as I will discuss other things later, like the Usenet news. The Usenet news also is like a bit obsolete, because the Usenet was part of the internet and the original internet, because it was developed together with the internet. That's why Usenet news was like a recognized part of the internet. The Usenet news group are organized in hierarchies, categories, and subcategories. Categories include standard, alt, biz, and local news groups. But today, Usenet has diminished in importance with respect to the internet forums, blogs, mailing lists, and social media. So we now see that social media, blogs, and so on have really phased out the Usenet. Although it's still there in some way, the difference is that the Usenet used to be more secured and created basically based on organizational requests. Then we have the search engines. Search engine is a program that searches the web for keywords or characters specified by the user, databases hosted on the World Wide Web. So we have different search engines, like we have the Bing, we have the Baidu, the Ask, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, American Online, Yandex, Ecosia. Ecosia is normally used to search for plants and animals. Then we have the Internet Archives. Of course, the big one, we have the Google. Then if you look to the right, you see that the search engines are placed into composites. Each of the search engines have, as you see, searching for Google search, Flickr, live search, Ask, music, you have this, that, juggling, and so on. Videos, YouTube, American Online, MySpace, Yahoo, and Google. You have WebMD, and so on. You have shopping, local, cooking, finance, and jobs. So you see, each of the web search has its own specialty, so that when you now engage the web search, in line with the specialty, then you get the cozier that we say we are looking for rare plants and so on. It should be in a position better than Google to give you exactly what you are looking for. So that is it in a nutshell concerning the internet. Thank you.